Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue this conversation on law enforcement and border, shall we? So we'll continue that with Pinal County in the great state of Arizona, their Sheriff Mark Lamb. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, John. Appreciate you having me on.
We are delighted to, and I'm interested to know you're on the front lines on the border and seeing what's happening. Obviously, throughout this administration, the issues at the border have increased exponentially, but your eyeballs on the ground there. Tell us what you see.
Well, it's jacked up, Amanda. It's getting worse and worse by the day. We're seeing more and more humans being trafficked in. And of course, we're seeing more and more dangerous drugs like methamphetamine and even more dangerous fentanyl, the blue M30 fentanyl pills. We're reaching unprecedented numbers, which is why as a country, we saw that we went over 100,000 overdose deaths. And I'm afraid that we're going to surpass that this year.
It's mind-boggling, sir, to hear those numbers. And I know there was a big seizure at the border today of over 100 pounds of fentanyl, which is enough to kill a lot of people. It's just remarkable. What message does Washington need to hear from someone like you on the front lines, your community, every day? What can we do here in Washington to try to make this situation better for your men and women?
John, that's a great question. I think that we've just got to keep putting pressure on them. One of the things that I've encouraged some of the families who've lost loved ones to the effects of fentanyl or even the human trafficking is you've got to make it emotional. They've got to feel the pressure. And Americans across this country have to realize it's not an Arizona issue. It's not a Texas issue. This is an America issue. What happens in my backyard today will be in your front yard tomorrow. And frankly, the cartel designs their product and the people that come into this country, they're not designed to stay in Arizona or Texas. They're going to be going throughout the country and through all the Midwest states, East Coast states. Those drugs are coming with them. And I'm afraid it's going to be hurting a lot more American families across this country over the next year.
Yeah. Sheriff, the drugs and the criminals that are imported across our border are obviously a huge concern. But the human trafficking toll is something that is exceedingly more disturbing to me as the weeks go by, as you hear about this happening. Why do you think, Democrats say that this is a humanitarian issue at the border, and yet they refuse to acknowledge the humanitarian aspect of the trafficking that's taking place? Why do you think the American people, for a lot of folks on the left side of the aisle, they just turn a blind eye to this?
Yeah, not only are they refusing to address the humanitarian issue, they're actually aiding and abetting this humanitarian issue. It shouldn't matter whether you're Republican, a Democrat, or independent. If you care about human beings, you should absolutely care about border security. Why? Women are being raped on a daily basis. Kids are being used as pawns. Men are being extorted. We actually had a woman that we found a few months ago. She had a baggie full of pills. And so we started saying, hey, what are these pills? She says, look, when I was going to cross the border, I knew I would get raped multiple times. So these are morning after pills. Like, when has Americans become acceptable because it suits your politics? The real humanitarian issue is what the cartel are doing to human beings on a daily basis. It has to stop. We as Americans are the only ones that are going to stop it. We can no longer tolerate this nonsense, and politics can no longer come into play here. This is an American plague, and we've got to fix it. And Washington needs to wake up to it. The mainstream media, and thank you for covering it, the mainstream media needs to accept it and address it. And we've got to move forward as Americans dealing with this very difficult issue.
I'm not going to forget that story, Sheriff. That one really sticks with me, to think that woman has to bring abortion pills with her just to protect herself. That's unreal. I want to ask you about something. Arizona is a very proud state. It always tries to find solutions, even when Washington lets it down. Your Attorney General just put out an opinion in the last couple of weeks, Mark Brnovich, saying that it is lawfully appropriate to call what's occurring at the border an invasion, and that gives the state some rights under the Constitution. What do law enforcement officers like you think about that declaration, and how might it change the game plan in Arizona?
Honestly, we probably should have done this a long time ago, and I'm grateful that Attorney General Brnovich did do that. Look, when you go into the desert, I can take you, and I'm 50 miles off the border, okay? So these people come through the desert in camouflage clothes, in carpet shoes, which are exactly what they sound like. They're shoes that they put over their boots, and they have carpet on them so they can mask the sound and hide their tracks so we can't track them. Backpacks full of drugs, or likely had been brought drugs in here. And it's littered throughout my desert. I can show you 100 different areas. That's an invasion. We don't know who these people are, where they came from, what kind of criminal backgrounds they have. They're military age men. They don't want to be caught. And that should be, so I'm glad that he did it, because it's exactly what's happening right now. They're invading this country, and then they're bringing the drugs with it.
Sheriff, for you there in Arizona, particularly the pieces of the border in Arizona where a border wall was constructed under President Trump, did you find that to be effective, especially like the Yuma sector?
Absolutely. The border wall was extremely effective. I think back in the day, 2006, they had 117,000 apprehensions. When they built the wall in 2007, it went down to 7,000 apprehensions. The wall works. Is it the end all be all? No, it's a piece of it. You also need to make sure you have enough boots on the ground with the Border Patrol. Stop making them babysit all day long. Let them go out and do their job. You need to make sure there's enough technology. And you need to make sure that you're also providing funding for sheriff's offices like mine or local agencies that are assisting Border Patrol and having to do their work, not Border Patrol's work, but the federal government's work, because they're handcuffing their own people. That's why we as sheriffs are rallied together under Protect America Now. You can check us out at protectamericanow.com. We're standing up for the rule of law. We're fighting against these bad policies and protecting the people's constitutional rights.
Yeah, such an important job, sir. And we thank you and all the men and women who are there. I want to ask you a question. We've had several members of Congress, and we've even gotten some documents showing the effort that the United States government and nonprofit organizations are engaging in to take illegals from the border and move them to the interior country, essentially extend the trafficking into the interior of the country. As a law enforcement officer, what do you think of those federal policies and the nonprofits that are assisting that sort of activity?
Well, I can't stand it, because they're taking taxpayer dollars from the majority of the people in this country who want to protect our borders. We think it's important to protect our communities. They're taking those taxpayer dollars, giving them to NGOs, non-government organizations, so they can house and move these people throughout the country. And look, the government got caught doing it. They had them on the plane like you see right there. They've been doing this for a while. They just happened to get caught red-handed. And if this was okay, if they truly thought it was okay, they wouldn't do it at 2:30 in the morning. That's for sure. But yeah, the only way that they can hide this problem from the American people much longer is by continuing to distribute the people that are coming into this country throughout America. But it's getting to where it's becoming so impactful that they can no longer hide it.
Yeah, we've just got a few minutes left, Sheriff. We're obviously all big fans of the First Amendment here, me particularly petitioning our government, my government. They're in Arizona. I know that there are efforts that you and AG Brnovich, that you all are making to try to alleviate the pressure on your state specifically. Who or where are the stopgaps? Where do the people of Arizona need to focus their attention to implore people to take border security seriously?
Well, that's a great question, Amanda, and I wish more Americans thought about that. Do not overestimate or underestimate the importance of contacting your local elected officials. Most of our quality of life is determined on a local level, not a national level. But you should also be reaching out and contacting your congressmen and your senators. I know it feels futile at times, but it matters. Elected officials do get those emails. They do take those things seriously. I know I ran a bill, an anti-defund the police bill the other day. I had 300 people sign in opposition of it. Why? Because they rally those people to come in and attack it. How many people actually showed up to the committee to oppose it in person? Zero. This is what they do. This is the plan. So you have to be active and stand up for what you believe.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think if more people got involved, then we wouldn't be so worried every 4 years when a presidential election comes around, or every 2 when Congress is in question. Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your perspective.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Amanda. God bless you guys.
You as well.
Same to you. And for those of you who think that immigration isn't going to impact you, it will come right to your door or your office. One of our colleagues here at the network was robbed at gunpoint yesterday in Guatemala by MS-13 members. So if you think it's not going to affect you, I promise you at some point it will. All right, coming up after the break, we have former Trump campaign spokesperson Hogan Gidley to talk about this and much more. We'll be right back.